in a Facebook group that I'm in for 5th grade teachers about how do you teach subtracting mixed numbers. And I have a method that I've used the past couple years, and it seems to work really well. Nobody else seemed to know of this method. They had a hard time wrapping their head around the method. So I wanted to make a video to show you how I teach my students how to subtract mixed numbers. Yes, borrowing from the mixed number, it's going to work. Making improper fractions and subtracting, it's going to work. And I absolutely tell my students that if that makes sense to them, that they can do it. But I don't want them to just discount this method, because what's so great about it is that it doesn't have borrowing. A lot of the subtracting, well, it has borrowing, but it's done mentally, and a lot of the subtracting is done mental, and there's not crazy extra work that the kids have to do over on the side. So, oh, I should have thought of an equation before I got started. How about 4 1/3 minus 2, and let's make it easy, a half, okay? So a lot of kids want to stack this vertically and subtract, and that's when they have to borrow. If they don't recognize that a third is less than a half, then they're going to just subtract bigger amounts from a smaller fraction. And even in 5th grade, some of my top math students, they do that with fractions because they just don't recognize it. Okay, so this is what I tell my students to do. We write equivalencies going down the page, because when we go into our lessons on order of operations, that's how they're set up. So it really does help get them into that habit. Okay, so the first thing I tell them to do is to circle the whole numbers and subtract. And I make anchor charts for this in my classroom so they can refer back to them. So 4 minus 2 equals 2. And then they bring down everything else that's left. Okay, so this is actually 4 1/3 really actually means 4 plus 1/3. So they have 2 plus 1/3. And this subtract 2 from the whole is also subtract a half. So minus 1/2. Now, if you're only up to subtracting fractions from mixed numbers, this is where you could start teaching your students, from this step, because now it's just 2 minus 1/2. So I teach them, and I always say, what does Mrs. McDermott want you to do? Circle the whole number and circle the take away 1/2. Now this, subtracting a fraction from a whole number, that's a fluency drill that I work with my students on every day. And so eventually they become to see it like a pattern. So we say 2 becomes 1. That's the borrowing, right? It's like mentally subtracting a whole, borrowing and bringing it over. And then how many halves do you need to get up to that whole you borrowed? You need 1/2. And then bring down everything else that's left. That bringing down what's left, that is the order of operations. And I even tell them, like, when you get into high school, when you're in middle school, you're going to start out with these long equations, and they're just going to get smaller and smaller and smaller until you finally have an answer at the end. I don't like for my students to do their equivalencies going across the page, because when they have all those equal signs, sometimes they're not actually equivalencies, and it makes the whole problem wrong. Okay, so now it's just time to make common denominators, and you have an answer at the end. So this is actually 1, and common denominator obviously is 6, 3, 6, plus 2, 6, and the answer is 1 5/6. So I dare you to try this with another combination of mixed numbers. Do it your way, do it this way, and see if you come up with the same answer. I promise that you will. How do you subtract mixed numbers in your classroom? Are you up to subtracting mixed numbers in your classroom? Can you drop a little note in the comments and let us know? Thanks so much, guys. I hope that you found this helpful. I know that to look at it, it's a lot of times it's like, that's not how I learned it, that's not how I want to do it, but my students really love it. The kids have all abilities, as long as they're trained, and I teach them to refer to the anchor chart if they need it, and it's a great method. I hope you give it a try. Thank you so much. Bye.